All right, so this is a little bit of an adventure I'm going to go on. I am heading to Decatur, which is about 50 minutes away from where I live. I'm trying to do a photo shoot for a class assignment. This is my Fundamentals of Photojournalism class. It's just one of my prereqs for my journalism degree I'm trying to get, even though I'm not going to be a photojournalist, although I do enjoy photography. So I need a pictorial composition, and I've racked my brain trying to think of examples to kind of model after or ideas, and I am certain there are a plethora of options out there in the radius whatever of Denton. But I'm going to think outside the box. I want to not like push my comfort zone in like I'm afraid to travel far distances. No, but I do want to go on a little bit more of an adventure, if you will. And so I think in going this route, I'm going to head to Decatur because I saw a coffee shop in Denton that I follow. They have a sister coffee shop out there in Decatur, and it's called Trinity something coffee bar. And so I want to go check that out because the picture composition on their Instagram, awesome, 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 awesome. All kinds of interesting leading lines, and just the composition of the photo from that perspective was very interesting. Now, I'm not going to try and recreate that photo. I'm just going to try and use the space to see if I can get something somewhat similar, but from a different perspective. The assignment is due tomorrow, so I am pressing time a little bit. I tried going by last night. There's this cool spot where a walking path passes by in like total dark with just woods around it, train tracks, and the red train lights just bathe the area in red glow. And I've always thought that'd be a really cool spot to do something, whether it was a photo shoot or even like a short film concept. And I even wrote out a rough script of that short. And, I'm convinced it can be done, but I think there's a very clear limitation with the equipment that I have. The two cameras I have, the Canon EOS M50, not great in low light from what I've seen. And I actually have a hand-me-down, which is a bigger, nicer camera than my Canon, that being the Nikon D5100. It's a nice camera, and it actually does do well in low light, but the problem I was running into a lot last night was it was still just too dark. The camera was not wanting to take the photos. It was too dark in that area, and the red light, if the sensor accounted for and tried to offset how dark it was like not an in-focus shot because it's having to be a very slow shutter speed to try and account for offsetting the darkness. And maybe if I'd had a tripod with me, I could have handled it a little better, gotten a little bit better of a shot, but it just didn't pan out like I had hoped it would. And so I basically needed to focus on what can I do to get this assignment, because clearly in the dark, even if I can overcome the darkness of the shot late at night, I'm not going to be able to overcome the composition limits of that darkness. I don't have the ability to see far enough down, so you're not going to get those really interesting leading lines that I was hoping for, and you're not going to get enough detail in the surrounding area to be as visually engaging as I need this assignment's submission to be. So I basically realized then, like, okay, there's other spots around Denton, but I don't want to do something that I feel like my classmates are likely to have, at least not down to the specific of the location. So why don't I go on a little bit of a road trip to somewhere I don't expect any of them to go. I'm going to drive an hour away from my house to a coffee shop. Longest drive for a cup of coffee I've ever had. Totally unreasonable, and yet here I go, driving an hour to get a cup of coffee and take a few photos. And then I'm going to come home. So it's going to be an interesting setup. So I just wrapped up my photo shoot real quick at the Trinity Street Coffee Bar in Decatur. It's a beautiful coffee shop, and I gotta say, this government building here is very, very nice as well. I like the coffee. It was a good cup of coffee that I was able to get there. And I got some really good shots. I think I got what I need for this assignment, so I'm excited about that. I took a bunch of different shots. I played around with the Nikon D5100 a little bit, adjusted some of my settings, just kind of played around to see what I could get. And I took a couple as well just with my iPhone just to kind of compare. What I can tell you is that I was able to get some really cool shots, kind of compare the two devices, see how they look. And from there, you know, it made a big difference in what I was able to do. So I think I got what I need, got what I came for. That's always a good thing. And now the focus is just, let's go home, touch up these photos a little bit. And I mean, screw it. I'm already going this far with this vlogging thing. I might as well try to edit something and throw it out there. I don't know that I'm going to do this. Maybe this will be a once a week thing where I try to go somewhere and kind of put these sort of things together. There's all kinds of great stuff. If I had more time today, I would be cool with hanging out around this general area and getting pictures, because there's an old feel, and I mean that in a positive way, an older feeling to a lot of the architecture around here, a lot of the buildings, and it just gives this feeling of history. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with that as far as photo shoots and things of that. You know, one popular genre is like the abandoned architecture sort of thing. I don't need to go to that extent, but I do certainly enjoy this idea of getting these really cool detailed shots where you're able to see not just what something was, but kind of the state of it. And Decatur, it's got a good blend. I think, like I said, the architecture style of their, I think it was basically their either courthouse or whatever, kind of like Denton has its courthouse on the square. Very cool architecture, even reminiscent of the one on the square. But I think there was a lot more I could have done there. I snapped a few shots of that, but really, just with my time squeeze of today, since I had an eye doctor appointment before going to Decatur, I think it kind of limited a little bit of what I was able to ultimately do with my time. If I had half a day, I could have taken a whole lot more photos out there, been a little bit more inventive and creative with it, and put something together. But even still, I think I got what I needed for the assignment, and I can put a little bit of something into this if I want to try and do a sort of behind the scenes type vlog of the process itself. And for the very, very lightest dipping of the toes into that type of content, I achieved it. So I think you got to call it a win. I see this as an absolute win, as a great fictional character once said in a blockbuster movie that made more money than any other movie in all of history. I don't think that's including inflation though, but still. I think for me, the biggest takeaway from today, more than just going and getting a great cup of coffee at the Trinity Street Coffee Bar in Decatur, was more about the opening up to a little bit of spontaneity. When I woke up this morning, I hadn't really determined whether or not I was going to go on this trip. I knew I was interested. I knew it was completely random and stupid. And when I got there, they have all these little shops around, antique shops and things of that nature. I browsed a little bit and I almost thought, I feel like I need to get something here, even if it's really basic. I need some reason that I can twist my mind into justifying driving out here. And I told myself, like, well, first of all, it's the photo. It's why you're here. The trip is more the thing you're gaining from it than a physical item, because to your point, you don't need anything that's out here other than getting the photo. And on top of that, it's like just enjoy the trip out here. The fact that it is random and the fact that you were able just to do that without a real set purpose is kind of what makes it unique. And so I went in, I snapped several shots, one of which, this one here, is going to be what I use for the assignment. We'll see how it ends up. I think it's a cool shot. I think there's a lot of great leading lines in this, whether you're looking at the ceiling or you're looking at the floorboards, which are very thin diagonal strips that contrast well against that ceiling. You got the leading lines of I don't know what you would say that's tied to, basically the vents of the place, the silver pipes pumping back towards the doors. Very interesting mix there. I think it makes for a really interesting composition, and I'm curious to see how that is critiqued by my professor and my classmates. But beyond that, it's more about just kind of opening up to these possibilities, opening up to this spontaneity. Again, that's never been a strength of mine, and trying to find different ways in which I can benefit from that in the future. So we'll see, but for now, I'm just going to leave it at go places and do stuff. That's my imparting wisdom. Imparting, departing. That's my parting wisdom.